This is the example video for value of a radical using a calculator. Okay, so I've got the square root of 18 right here. Actually, I don't need my marker yet. Okay, so looking at our notes, what we're going to do, our first move will be to get a square root in our calculator. So if you notice right here, it's kind of small, but right above the x squared in blue, I've got this square root symbol. Okay, that's exactly what I want. So to activate that blue button, or the square root, I'm going to hit second x squared, which activates the square root, and now I'm just going to plug in 18. Okay, that's exactly what I want. So I've got the square root of 18, I hit enter, and it looks like we have 4.24. Okay, so for my answer, I will say it is approximately, that's what this sign means, 4.24. And the reason I didn't round up to 4.25 is because this 2 here is a number that's under 5. Okay, if we had 5 through 9, we would round up to 4.25, but because I have a 2 here, we'll just leave it as 4.24. Okay, and this second place is our hundredths place. And if you look back at our notes, I would strongly prefer if you rounded to the hundredths place. Okay. All right, so I'm going to clear this. And if you're ever struggling with this and you want to see exactly what buttons I'm pressing, especially if you're using one of the Texas Instruments graphing calculators, all the buttons I'm pressing are right down here in the exact order. Okay, so I'm going to hit clear. I'll clear my screen. Okay, so now I've got the square root of 100. And some of you might be able to do this one in your head. Okay, so I'm going to hit second x squared to activate my square root and type in 100. Okay, so the square root of 100, hit enter. It's 10. It's a whole number. Okay, because some of you might have been able to recognize that, oh, the square root of 100 is 10 because 10 times 10 is 100. Okay, so for this one we can just put equals 10, okay, because we're not approximating. Okay, now I've got the square root of 48. So I will clear my buttons down here. I've got second x squared to activate the square root, 48. Okay, ready to go, so I'll hit enter. Okay, and I've got 6.928. Okay, because this 8 is larger than 4, okay, so 5 or higher, that means I have to make this a 3. I'll round up. Okay, so the square root of 48 is approximately 6.93. And that is a completely acceptable answer right there, rounded to the hundredths place. Okay, square root of 144. Some of you might be able to do this in your head as well. Okay, I'll hit second, activate my square root by hitting x squared, 144, hit enter, and I get 12. So the square root of 144, I don't need to put approximately 12, it is 12. Okay, that is our answer. So really, as long as you know how to use a calculator, these really aren't that bad. Okay, it's not like we're really even doing any math. We're just plugging in the information, let our calculator do all the work. Number 5, square root of 320. So I will hit second, x squared to activate my square root, 320. Hit enter, and we get 17.888. Okay, so because this is larger than 4, okay, that means I need to round up in my hundreds place. So the square root of 320 is going to be approximately 17.89. On to the next one. Okay, happens to be our last one too. So the square root of 28. So second, x squared. Okay, I'll hit 28. Enter, and I get 5.291. Okay, because this one is 4 or less, okay, I will leave my answer as approximately 5.29. Okay. All right, at this point I would move on to the practice for value of a radical using the calculator. Actually, before you do that, I do want to point something out. If you hit this math button right here, okay, occasionally you're going to be given a problem, let's say like this, the cube root of 67, for example. I just came up with those numbers randomly, okay? Because this is not a square root, we are not allowed to use the square root button. So in order, if you have a root that's something other than 2, something other than a square root, you have the options here to go to, you hit math, okay, you've got a cube root button right there, or you've got this x with a square root button, okay. If you were to hit cube root and hit enter, okay, automatically a cube root, okay, so you could type in any number. Ours was 67, and you could round to the hundreds place, so it would be 4.06. But let's say we had the 8th root of 400, and we wanted to figure out what that was. Okay, well, we can't use our square root button. We can't use that cube root button, but I can hit math, go down to number 5, the one that has the x with the square root, hit enter, and that allows us to change what our root is. So I believe I just had the 8th root of 500, so I could hit 8, toggle over 400, and my answer would be 2.11. Okay. So most standard non-graphing calculators, I believe, have the cube root button. They might not have the option to do anything higher than a cube root. Okay. So in that case, you might need some sort of Texas Instrument or graphing calculator in general, and then you would just have to hit the math button and manually plug in your root. So at this point, now I would move on to value of a radical using a calculator.